Hey everyone, Bill Lowen, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro, talking about one of my favorite ways to catch them, and that's cranking. And what we're going to talk about is how do we determine whether we're using a flat-sided crankbait or a square bill style crankbait, okay? And a lot of that for me has to determine with water temperature. You know, traditionally a flat-sided crankbait has a tighter wiggle than a square bill crankbait does, okay? And that's the kind of bait you're going to want to reach for when the water temperatures are cold, you know, in that late winter, early spring, late fall. You're going to want a crankbait that has a tighter wiggle. Traditionally, like I said, that is what a flat-sided crankbait has. And in those cold waters, that's what excels, okay? As that water temperature starts to warm up, it starts to get hotter, we start to get into the summertime, that's when I'm going to reach for a square bill crankbait. You know, a square bill crankbait is what I'm going to call the dump truck of crankbaits. It was designed to deflect off a rock, deflect off a wood, and trigger a reaction bite, as where a flat-sided bait is more of a finesse style crankbait, okay? So just kind of remember that when the water's cold, reach for that flat side. As that water temperature starts to get hot, that's when we're going to reach for that square bill. We're going to fish that bait extremely fast. We're going to ricochet it off of everything we possibly can and try to trigger that reaction bite. Another place that I really like to use this is on shallow grass lines, okay, where that grass line comes out there and it's all matted up and it may stop and we may get a solid wall of grass. That's where I'm going to burn this as fast as I can along those grass lines. You know, in that late summer time of the year, we get a lot of bait fish that get out there on the edges of those grass lines, and a shallow square bill wound as fast as you can, rip through that grass, is going to get you a lot of bites that you wouldn't. On my flat-sided bait, I always like to throw 12-pound InvisX. On my square bill type baits, I'm always going to go with a 15-pound InvisX. And the reason for that is I want to get a little more depth out of my flat-sided crankbait. And 12-pound line for me gives me the exact depth that I need, okay? And I know a lot of guys say, well, Bill, I can get my bait deeper on 10-pound, okay? Of all my years of fishing with a flat-sided bait, I feel like 12-pound line, I can get that flat-sided bait as deep as it's going to go. You know, typically a flat side's only going to go 4 to 6 or 7 foot deep, just because of the way they're designed. And I feel like with 12-pound line, when I get that bait down there and get it on the bottom, I want to work it as slow as I possibly can, almost worm that bait through the cover. And 12-pound fluorocarbon for me is almost like an anchor. Almost helps me keep that bait down there, whereas if I was using 10-pound, the buoyancy of the weight's going to want to bring it back up. So once I get that bait down there with that 12-pound fluorocarbon, it almost anchors it to the bottom for me and lets me worm it through the cover. Like I said, and that's 12-pound InvisX that I'm going to use on my flat-sided crankbaits. When I go with a square bill bait, it seems like I'm always throwing it around some type of cover, whether that be laydowns, rocks, grass lines, and things like that that we talked about. So I go with that 15-pound line so I don't have to worry about getting frayed up in that cover. And once I get that bite, I know I have enough line or enough strength to get that fish out of the cover. So remember that when you're trying to select a crankbait, look at the water temperature, look at the type of cover you're fishing in, what time of the year it is, and I guarantee you if you try these two baits at those time of the year, you're going to put more fish in the boat for you.